So I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about retrieval. And for those that don't know, you've written a book on modern recommendation systems, literally. And so you're the right guy to talk about this. You compared RAG and retrieval in the context of generative AI to effective recommendation system engineering. Do you mind elaborating on that a little bit more?
The very first thing that you need to do is retrieval. And then once you do retrieval, you need to do ranking. And once you do ranking, you need to do serving. And so those are the three things in my book that I really pivot the whole book around. Retrieval is the process of getting the things that you might serve to the user. Ranking is from that subset of things that we think are appropriate and relevant, which are the most relevant for this recommendation. And serving is the process of getting it to the user and getting things that shouldn't be sent to the user out of there. Now, in the book, I talk a lot about different aspects of this. What do you do with a retrieval system? You can do top K in some sort of like latent space. Neat. But retrieval is a lot more than just top K in some latent space. You have to ask the question about what latent space. You have to ask the question about what query vector. The biggest challenge of RAG systems today is basically the query vector looks nothing like the vectors you're trying to retrieve. So how do you expect retrieval to be any good in this context? If you ask a recommendation systems person, hey, I want to build an image recommender, and I want people to be able to type in questions about like anything and get back images that like answer their question. The recommendation person says, how do you expect your retrieval to work? And so that's the first piece that I think is really related to the RAG system. The next piece is re-ranking. You get back your top K. Maybe you figured it out. Maybe you have a great embedding. People these days like to chunk. Chunking is taking the data and breaking it into pieces so that it looks more like the query. Or maybe they'll even do hide. They'll make up hypothetical questions that could be answered by the chunk. Neat. That's great. That's a better embedding than we started with. But when you get those responses back, are they the right responses? Are they like relevant for your retrieval pipeline? Jason, one of your previous guests, talked about like business value in RAG. I think that's exactly the right question to ask here. Does your high recall score correlate to what your users want? Let me give you an example. If you have a RAG system over like Wikipedia, and you're going to have the user asking questions specifically about what a country's capital is. What is the capital of France or something like that? Neat. It's going to look up the chunk of data about France, and it's going to say, oh, neat, the Wikipedia on France has a thing that it says about capitals. But the Wikipedia page about historical capitals has about 15 of those. So now you've got 15 chunks on one page that all correspond to the capital of France. And you've got one on the core page for France. Which of those do you send to the model? Do you send them all? How do you know which one to send? How do you know that the one is going to be magically the closest in your latent space? We all know that it's 1600 dimensions. Everything's close to everything and nothing's close to anything. So what are you going to get back anyway? Oh, we'll just send them all over the model. You got plenty of context. Yeah, but there's a limit to that. Not all RAG problems can handle the whole chunks that you get back. So which one do you send? That's a re-ranking problem. You have to figure out in real time how to send the right one over. Variety of different strategies. Lately, people have been talking about doing collaborative filtering. They have a very sad story in front of them because it turns out that you can't collaboratively filter when every query only appears once in your data set. So then those are the first two problems of RAG. And then the third problem is serving. In this case, the serving is to the model. How do you get that data over to the model? What other things do you need to include? For us, on the process of like you're done with your RAG system, you've gotten your table information, we need to get some other information related to the table that can be really helpful for writing great queries into our table retrieval pipeline. And so we have some additional steps, and that's part of our serving logic. Now in recommendation systems, you care about that too, because, hey, this is a great shirt for Bryan. What size does Bryan wear? That's something you do at serving time. oh, I was going to recommend this to Bryan, but I just realized Bryan's allergic to cotton. I can't recommend this to Bryan. And those are things in the recommendation system side that we're used to dealing with. That's okay. How do we steal this in LLMs? I need to add in for some more information about tables. Oh, and I should not recommend this table because the user has told me I don't want Magic writing queries against this table. We call this exclusions, and it's literally using the exact serving logic. So ultimately, all three of these pieces are part of the RAG system.